Awesome. Welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. We will be talking about breaking down events, how to spend your time and money wisely. My name is Robin Spofford. I'm a customer success manager here at SportsRecruits. I graduated from Colby College in 2017, where I played on the softball team, and excited to have you all here tonight. For a quick agenda, we'll be running through the different types of events, a personal invite versus a non-personal invite, determining if the event is worth it, making the event worth it, making the most out of your trip to a school, and then we'll end with a live Q&A at the end as well, depending on the time. And if you do have questions, please write them in the chat. I'll get to them if I can. And then our team is always available for questions, and this is recorded as well. So if you want to play it back, all of our webinars are recorded and available on our webinar landing page the day following the webinar. So we will get started. First up, we have the different types of events. So here we have a chart just breaking down the different types of main events, loosely called that. Depending on the program, they may be called something slightly different, but we have prospect day, camps and clinics, showcases, and tournaments. So for the prospect days, I'll go through and talk about each of these here just to give a little bit more of an overview of what to expect from each of these, but we will start with the prospect day. These are usually hosted by the school. It's a one-day event, and the price can range, as you can see. These, again, are general prices, but this ranges from about $75 to about $200, depending on the program. The breakdown of the education versus evaluation is about 25% education, but it is primarily an evaluation day for you to show your skills. College coaches will be there from that program to evaluate you, and it's a great opportunity to show off your skills as a developed athlete there. For camps and clinics, these can be anywhere from 1 to 3 days. Again, depending on the program level, popularity of the event, these can range from about $200 to about $800. The number of schools, it ranges, it's a little bit higher to about 1 to 12 schools. And this is very education heavy. So it's about 75% education, evaluation 25%, keeping in mind that these are maybe helpful events for you to join if you are a developing athlete, if you're a little bit younger in the recruiting process, where you will get those tips and some education about the sport, your skills and things like that. Get a sense of what kinds of drills you'll be running and what can help you prepare for other events that you'll be attending too. That being said, all of these are, of course, always available to attend no matter where you are in the recruiting process. But if you are looking for a little bit more development, a camp and clinic can be a little bit helpful. And these are especially helpful if you are interested in a specific program and would like to get a sense of what the coaching staff is like, what kind of drills, again, are they running? Do you get along with the coaching staff? Things like that. For showcases, these are typically about one day, range from about $200 again to about $500. These will have way more coaches attending just because it is a way for you to show off and be evaluated. It breaks down to about 10% education, 90% evaluation. And then finally, lastly, here we have tournaments. These are about 1 to 3 days. This will depend on the club dues. So if you're attending a tournament with your club, that can depend on the cost and things. So always worth asking the question. But again, these will have anywhere from 5 to 40 college coaches, again, depending on the popularity of the event. And these tournaments are 100% evaluation. So these are ones where you're going, of course, showing off your skills versus having no education, where the college coaches will be on the side of the sport that you're playing, side of the field, whatever it may be. And these are helpful just to show off your skills. And there may be opportunities depending on the rules for the division and school that you're talking to and interested in, for opportunities for communication at the event, but always keep in mind those rules. Next, we'll go to personal invites versus non-personal invites. So these are definitely hard to tell sometimes, but we do have some tips for you to understand when is it actually a college coach reaching out to you. So first, we have the personal invite. These will, right off the bat, be a little bit more informal. You can tell it's actually a human behind the screen sending you a message, and these will involve your name, of course. That's something helpful to keep in mind. They'll be short, may mention something specific about you as an athlete. Those are ways for you to first identify that it's actually a college coach. And what this may mean is you are on the coaches list, you're on their radar, they're reaching out to gauge where you are in the recruiting process. If the recruiting process goes both ways, they're trying to understand, are you interested in their program? And this is something that the college coach will send directly. And you never know, it could be a specific user personal email address, but some colleges will have a general recruiting at EDU email address. So if it's from that, nothing to be alarmed about. Just a few tips there to identify the personal ones. In terms of the response that you can give, if you're interested, of course, get back to the college coach, send a personal email back. We recommend, of course, introducing yourself, sharing a little bit of information about you as a person, as an athlete, as a student as well. And then also, if you are interested, go the extra mile, send something like, if it's their season or something following the season, send something like "great job last weekend," just a little tip, something that shows you did a little bit more research too. That will go a long way. If you're not interested, again, if you can identify that it's a personal email, just something polite back saying, "Hi, coach, thank you so much for your interest. I'm not actually looking at schools in your area, or I'm primarily looking at a different division," for example. It's helpful to send that message just so they can take you off their list. You won't get pinged again in the future. If you want to keep your options open, of course, you can do that too. But sending a polite message back just helps your reputation in the recruiting space. College coaches do talk, so it's helpful to share that. And you never know, maybe they know another program that you could go to. Next, we have the mass email invite. So this will be those non-personal messages that you may receive. And some ways to spot this is a lot of branding. It may have general phrases. It may have a more formal use case of your name. So here we have Christopher. If your name in their database is Christopher, but you typically go by Chris, for example, or a nickname, something like that. If it says "Dear Blank," that's a good way to tell as well. And there aren't any sentences that are unique to you. These will be a lot, very common for newsletters, potentially about those camps, prospect days. It's hard to manage, of course, if those are personal, because you may have been talking to the coach. You may, in these cases, be on their email list. But if you have been also in communication on the side with someone wanting you to come, then that's something that you can gauge as well. What this means for you is, again, you may or may not be on the coaches list. Just because you're getting these mass emails does not mean you're not on the college coaches radar. Oftentimes, they will put your email address into their database and be sending information just so that you're getting information about the school and the program. So you can receive both mass emails and personal emails still. They aren't exclusive. But it is something just helpful to keep in mind that it likely was not sent by the college coach. It's likely something that they have in their database. In terms of responses, again, if you're interested, this is a touch point for them. By all means, respond, express your interest, share again, like, "Hey, coach, I'm glad we could connect this weekend," if it is something where you do have a personal relationship with them from previous conversations. But if you are not interested, then there is no need to respond to these emails because they are being sent out widely. Next, we'll cover determining if an event is worth it. So first, thinking back to that table with the different types of events, the first thing you'll want to consider is how many schools are attending or hosting an event. If it's only one school, then you want to make sure you're spending your time wisely. Think about, is the school on your favorites list, which is the target list of schools on your SportsRecruits account? Does the school fit your interests academically and socially? You're going to be talking to a lot of schools. You want to make sure that you're spending your time focusing on those schools that actually fit what you're looking for at a school, athletically, of course, but academically and socially as well. If you have a major that you're interested in and that school doesn't offer it, then you want to be polite and make sure that you're spending your time focusing on schools that do fit. Be honest, Can you play at that level? If you have a list of 10 Division I top dream schools, but you are more realistically potentially a Division III athlete, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has a school that fits what your athletic abilities are, and that can gauge if maybe you could play Division I, but you can have more playing time Division III. Just as an example, you want to be honest with yourself and ask your advocates, can you realistically play at that school, and what will that experience be like? Next year, do you want to learn more about the school and coaching style? So because there is only one school attending, like I said earlier, it is really helpful for you to identify, do you like the coaching style? Is it something where you want to be on campus, and understand if you like the environment? And finally, have you introduced yourself to the coach yet? Leading up to those events, because it is only, again, one school, you want to have some kind of previous conversation and communication with the coaching staff, so that you're not just another body on the field, for example. You want to have that personal relationship so that they'll notice you and then be watching you as well. Just to keep in mind that you're competing with the people beside you as well. You want to make sure you have those introductions in place so that you have a good foundation for those events. Next up, for events with several schools attending, things you want to think about. First is at least one of the schools on the top part of your list of schools that you're interested in attending. Again, you want to make it worth it. You can go to that program if it's a little bit, if you want to go to an event because it's near your hometown and there's at least one school that you're interested in, a few others that you may be, you want to make sure to consider that. Have you been in contact with any of these coaches? Again, communication is key in the recruiting process. It's very unlikely that a college coach will pick you out during a random camp and clinic that you're attending. Of course, it's not impossible, but making sure that you have those touch points. And we have another great webinar related to messaging college coaches, and any of those touch points leading up to an event, following an event, where a college coach is attending, you have opportunities to reintroduce yourself, communicate, and express your interest always. Moving on here, do these schools match your level of play? Again, considering that if it's a Division I program, with all Division I schools, is that realistically the level that you're looking to play at and able to play at? And then finally, what is the reputation of this camp or showcase? If it's something that's been around for a while, and you may be more likely to see more coaches that are attending because it's a must go to for the college program, or is it a newer camp, for example, that you want to just be aware of? Doesn't mean that you shouldn't go, but just things to be aware of. Next, making it worth it. So again, communication is key, but before the event, during the event, and after the event, we have some tips. Before the event, always send a message to the coaches in attendance. If you aren't sure which specific coach will be there, using the SportsRecruits messaging system, you can easily send a message to all of the coaches on staff. Make sure that they know that you'll be there. Introduce yourself. We have a template available if you're not sure quite what that information should include, but make sure you're sending that message so that they have a heads up that you'll be there. By using the messaging system, you will have a link to your profile, so they'll get a little bit of a preview of your skills leading into that as well. So here, include your most up-to-date film, grades, transcript, event schedule. Just because a coach can't go to an event this weekend, for example, doesn't mean that they can go the following, or in the future as they're building out their schedule. During the event, it's key, of course, to perform. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, eating, making sure that you are ready to perform as if it's game day, making sure that you're showing off your best self, making sure that you are prepared. And then, of course, it's an opportunity to explore the campus as well. So if you are attending a prospect day or a camp on campus, making sure to check out the admission schedule. There may be a tour or opportunities to meet with the coach and things. So opportunity there. Following the event, again, even if you don't get a response leading into the event, but just saying, thank you so much for your time. I learned a lot, put in a personal touch. I loved XYZ drill. I feel like I really grew in this area. And then reassess your position with that school as well. measure yourself compared to other athletes, gauge where you may stand based on a potential conversation that you may have. Again, rules kind of are specific on that in terms of day of event communication, but making sure that you're taking, a little bit of a time to reflect after the event as well. Awesome. So in terms of what to say to a college coach, we recommend before an event, 10 to 12 days. You want to make sure that the coaches, again, make sure they know that you'll be there, include it as much information as you can. So dates, times, where you'll be, what field you'll be playing on, your jersey number, your jersey color, as much information as you can is helpful. If you don't have that information that far ahead, just sending hey, I'll be there next weekend, 10 to 12 days, and then saying, I'll follow up once I know the details closer to the event. It gives you 2 opportunities to get on their radar. And they understand too that you may not have that information, but sending a message Thursday night leading into a Saturday event, the college coaches will not be prepared if that's not an area that they're planning to go to, just making sure you're in communication there. And then post-event, again, thank the coach for their time. You can ask for feedback as well. While coaches may not be able to give you an offer, things like that, by saying, I really enjoyed this drill, and did you happen to see, XYZ? Where can I improve? If they saw you, for example, you can ask for that feedback, or areas that, hey, I noticed this. Is something that your coaching staff really focused on. What are some ways that I can increase my skills in that area? Just another way for you to stand out, show that you're looking to improve and grow as an athlete as well. And then always restating your sincere interest, just like a job interview, making sure that following every touch point with a program, saying thank you again for your time. I'm really interested in your program and hope to be a contributor in the future. Something more specific than that, but that's just something that you can share in those messages. So with the SportsRecruits messaging system, you have a really easy way to communicate with college coaches. All you need to do is open up your account, click on the messages tab, and all you need to do is type in the name of the school you'd like to contact. So as soon as you do that, all of the college coaches in our database will populate there. We have every college coach in the country in our database. It just depends on, again, those recruiting at EDU emails versus personal ones. But for the most part, all of the college coaches are in our database. It's completely free for them to use, and it's super simple. You don't need to track down the emails. We're keeping it up to date, so you have that most up-to-date information as well. All you need to do, search the name, click on the emails you want to, click on the coaches' names rather, that you want to contact, and you'll see in this screenshot here that at the bottom, there is that profile link to your profile on the platform. That is an embedded link, so college coaches have a seamless one-click way to view your full profile, so there's no barriers to entry. And then even more importantly, by clicking that link, college coaches will trigger a view notification as well. So you'll get that X school just viewed your profile, Colby College just viewed your profile, for example. So that's a great way for you to understand, okay, I sent this message and this college coach opened my message and viewed my profile. They may or may not be interested. Again, it's very similar to any social media. If a college coach comes to your profile, you will get triggered that view, but it doesn't necessarily equate to interest. So just something to keep in mind. But the more hits you get, for example, the more likely they are to be interested, or at least be reevaluating you. But really the way to know if a college coach is interested will be that messaging back and forth and that communication. We like to say, if a college coach is interested, you will know. So while we do have these recommendations for continuing to reach out in the different touch points, just making sure that you're being realistic and understanding, has this coach been receptive? Have they been receiving or sending back messages to me? What kind of messages have they been? Have they been super engaged? Have they been a more like, hey, that's great, keep it up, more generic? So something just to, again, consider as you're going through the recruiting process. And depending on that, there's always opportunities to reevaluate your list. Go back to SportsRecruits. We have the school search tool, ways for you to identify new schools as well. So next up, lastly, here we have the making the most out of your trip. So we talked about when you are going and visiting schools, there's opportunities for you to, of course, see the school, go and take a tour. But with the SportsRecruits school search, in addition to using the different filters to find schools that match your interests and match what is important to you in a school, you can see that on the account there is an option to use Google Maps and view, I want to go to Massachusetts. You can zoom in and see all of the schools that match what you've searched for in that area, so you can potentially visit several schools over the course of a weekend, making sure that if especially you're flying or anything long drive, that's a big time investment. It can be a really costly investment money wise as well. Make the most of it and take tours, take the time to look around and see where else you can visit. Okay, I see a few questions here, so I'll take a look at those, but if you do have more, please send them in and I will take a look. Okay, so someone first asked just accessing this webinar to share with your student athlete. All of our webinars are available. They are recorded, so they will be posted onto our webinar landing page and our YouTube page as well. You can subscribe to YouTube and watch all of our webinars, and those are easy to share with your athletes as well if you're a parent or a college or a club staff member on here. But most importantly, they're always recorded. But if you always keep in mind that if you can't attend any of our webinars live, we will send the recording to your email if you register. So that's always a tip as well. Okay, let's see. Really good question. So does a player's individual email address appear as the sending address when communicating with coaches? So this is something we do want to be very transparent about. All messages, first off, are sent directly to a college coach's personal email inbox in addition to their SportsRecruits inbox. So when you send a message, there is a SportsRecruits email that allows us to do the transparency and tracking of that view notification, but all of the messages do get delivered to a college coach's personal inbox as well. But you'll see that we do have a different email that appears. However, your personal emails are always visible on your profile as well. So college coaches can get those from that and communicate with you there too. Okay, good question. Can a school see if you've favorited certain colleges? So what this person is referring to is when you do favorite a school, that will notify, when you favorite a school, that will only be something that's visible to you and the colleges at that specific program. They aren't notified, but rather you will appear whenever you favorite a school or send a message to that program. You'll appear in what's called an Interested in Us filter on a college coach's account on SportsRecruits. So sending a message, favoriting the school are two things that you can do to help get you into a different filter for increasing your discoverability on the platform. But otherwise it is private. So if you have a list of however many schools, we recommend at the beginning, 20 to 30. So that is a long list. That is private, that only you can see, but colleges will be able to identify if you have favorited their program. I hope that's clear. Let me know if you have a follow-up to that. And yes, related to Google Maps, for the school search tool, if you go to that tab, school search on your SportsRecruits account, that school search has the filters for you to find schools, and then you can also zoom in using the map on the right hand part of the screen too when you're on that page. In terms of, and I do see a few questions here, I'll try to get through as many as I can. But for depending on the age group, so someone had asked if I'm a sophomore, can I expect a response? It really depends on the program, where they are in the recruiting process and what their goals are as a program and what's typical for different levels. So there may be a rule where college coaches can't respond to a message unless it's a general thank you or a feedback question. So it's hard to say if you can expect a response depending, but for sophomores, There may be some rules in place depending on the program that you're talking to, but that doesn't mean that there are never restrictions for athletes reaching out. So you can always say, even as a freshman, for example, hey, this is who I am. Please check out my SportsRecruits account. It has all of my videos, events coming up, academic information. They will always be able to view your profile no matter your age. Again, depending on the responsiveness of a college coach, you do want to be mindful that they are recruiting. And if you aren't getting that responsiveness back, it may be time for you to move on to a new program, or of course, talk to your advocates, talk to your college coach, or excuse me, your club coaches, your high school coaches, your college counselors, and ask for recommendations depending on the type of outreach that you've had and the responsiveness that you're getting. And then I know there's a lot of different questions here. I do see one last good one, just keeping an eye on the time. For the question is, how often do college coaches update their profile looking for attacker defender? Depending on your SportsRecruits account, you may see a roster need of option available where college coaches can publish the types of positions and groups that they're looking for. That is something that is optional for college coaches. It's something that they can proactively publish. So it does depend on the seasonality and the, what time of year that they're recruiting. But always a good tip, no matter what sport you are in, reaching out and saying, this is who I am. I play this position. I'm this grad year. Is this, are you seeing an opening for this in the future? And one last follow-up to that question, for favoriting, if you favorite a school, that program will be able to see it, but no others. It's only something between you and that individual program. Awesome. There are a lot of questions in here, so thank you so much for writing in. If I didn't get to yours tonight, lots of good ones in there. Please reach out to our customer support team. They can be reached at help@sportsrecruits.com. They're our team built to support you all as families and athletes. Again, that's just help, HELP@sportsrecruits.com. And then in terms of other resources, we do have a knowledge base. So if you're looking for some how-tos on the platform, this is a great place. We have a ton of different videos on here as well. Of course, we do have a SportsRecruits 101 as well. So if you're looking just for the basics of how to use the platform, that's a great place to start. We can send you a quick 10-minute run through. But any questions there, help@sportsrecruits.com is the best team for you to contact. And then all of our webinars, in addition to searching for SportsRecruits webinar, SportsRecruits on YouTube, you can also through your athlete accounts, click the More tab in the top right corner. You'll see webinars there along with our help. That's our knowledge base, and then our blog. And then last thing here is just, again, a reminder that this is recorded. You can always reach out, respond to any webinar emails that you get. Any of our emails you can always respond to with questions. And then that email is help@sportsrecruits.com for any questions. But thank you all for being here tonight. I do appreciate your time, and thank you also for all your questions. And again, help@sportsrecruits.com, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you on future webinars as well. Have a great night.